Welcome to part 2 of the pillbox project. First thing we need to do at this point is to finish shaping the outside of the lid and make sure that the outside surfaces of the joint are smooth, because I want this to look like an actual pill capsule. When we're done, we need to have the outside surfaces on both pieces as smooth as possible. I'm using my spindle gouge to very carefully remove the remains of the tenon on the lid section, and you have probably noticed that I have the lid screwed on to the bottom part, and I'm actually using the bottom part as my chuck for this process. Light cuts, really light cuts. There's some chatter, there's some squealing. It's because while the lid is screwed onto the box, it's not a great super tight fit, and I'm getting some vibration through the acrylic. It's just kind of a noisy process, but you know, there's nothing bad going on, nothing's cracking on me. This is a very safe way to work on your lid pieces in order to get them shaped the way you want them shaped, but you have to just go with really light cuts. Sanding is next. Because I didn't get great cuts with my tool, I'm going to have to start at 150 and work my way through the grits. The trick with using sandpaper on acrylic is you need to move your paper fast. You need to have a lot of paper handy. It clogs up really fast. The acrylic is harder than most wood, so it wears your paper down quickly. So small pieces, move the pieces fast, use as much sandpaper as you need, and don't skip any grits. You will leave a ton of scratches if you skip grits. Okay, I slowed things down here. I wanted you to see I have to fix a problem. There's a catch or a groove in the top of the lid where it starts to round over, and it is causing some weird effects with the sanding process. So I can't get it with my spindle gouge. I decide the best tool for this job is my small carbide cutter. And I'm just, again, light cuts. I'm rounding things out, and when I'm done with the tool, I'm going to have to go back and do the initial sanding process again, going all the way back to 150 grit and working up to 600. Here you can see that I have switched to my micro mesh pads. I really like these on acrylic products. It's a very easy way to get a really glossy clear shine. If there's any scratches left from the regular sanding, the micro mesh pads will take that off, and basically we're going to end up all the way up at 12,000 grit. Yeah, 12,000. That particular pad doesn't feel like it has any abrasive on it at all, but it really does. And this process really does give you a pretty high quality shine on your plastic. We're not quite done yet. Stick around. in order to get a high gloss. I like using a plastic polish. This particular brand is Hutt's Ultra Shine. I got it locally. I believe it was a Woodcraft purchase. Any plastic polish I think will be fine. This is just what I have locally available, so that's what I use. And a small piece of paper towel, a little dab of the product. The machine is running at a fairly high rate of speed. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it because, again, the lid is held on only by my threads, and I don't want to risk, damaging those. But I'm getting, you can tell that this is putting a really, really nice gloss on that acrylic. On to hollowing. Yes, I'm using a Forstner bit. It's a great way to get a hollowed out inside quickly. When I'm done with the Forstner bit, I move on to doing some sanding. A little bit tricky. My fat fingers don't quite fit, so I wrap some sandpaper around a stick. I skipped some of that process with the video. It was very boring. I kept dropping the sandpaper. We would have spent an awful lot of time with you watching me crawl under the lathe. Well, it might be funny for you. It would really add to the length of the video, so I decided to edit that part out. Quick adjustment of the tool rest, power up the lathe. I had already put a new sharp edge on my spindle gouge, and I'm going to try to get close to finish on the outside of the bottom of this pillbox. Let's talk about my chuck for a few minutes. This is the NOVA Woodworking Supernova 2 Infinity Chuck. Watch this. This is really cool. I'm able to change my jaws while the chuck is on the lathe, and it takes me almost exactly 36 seconds. 4 jaws come off, and 1, 2, 3, 4 new jaws go right back on. This is a really nice piece of equipment. I am very happy to have it. I'm still working on learning all of the variety of things you can do with it. Unfortunately, I only have 2 sets of jaws to work with, but this was the perfect project to showcase what this new technology can do. And here you see me chucking up a scrap block of cherry. This was the bottom of a previous project. I don't remember what it was, but I'm going to use it now in my new jaws to turn down and create a wooden jam chuck so that I can reverse the bottom of the acrylic box and get that tenon off and finish shaping the bottom. I like turning between centers. I like having the tailstock engaged. It gives me a little bit of added extra stability. It helps me make sure that when I do reverse chucking like this, that my workpiece is as on center as possible. Now, one of the biggest drawbacks about working with acrylic is the shavings have a really bad habit of wrapping around what you're working on, and it makes it almost impossible to see. So you have to stop, you have to clean, you have to get the shavings out of there. It's kind of annoying, but you know, part of the deal when you're working with acrylic. Now with the tailstock removed, I can get my final cuts on the bottom at this point. I'm going to bring the carbide cutter back out just to help me round out the bottom. Again, very, very light cuts. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on. Because it's on a jam chuck, you can push the workpiece off center. So from the middle, work your way outside. Keep the pressure light, keep your cuts small, make sure your tools are sharp, and you'll be able to pull off stuff like this in no time. At this point, I decided I wasn't happy with the way the workpiece was holding. Time to take it off the jam chuck, make the jam chuck a little bit longer. It's going to give me a better hold, and there was some wiggle on it, and I wasn't happy with that. But you will be happy to see that I am wearing my Trend Air Shield. I am protecting my lungs and my face. Not exactly the most flattering piece of equipment, but it does the job that I need it to do. Okay, the workpiece is back on. I can finish rounding out the bottom and then move on to sanding and finishing. We've sanded through the grits, we've sanded through all of the micro mesh grades, and we are going back to apply the Hutz plastic polish. This is the last step in the finishing. The material was really fun to work with. A little brittle. It's older. This has been in my parents' basement for decades. I don't know what it was originally supposed to be used for, but I found it down there and decided it needed to come home and get turned into something cool. And I think I have succeeded with that with this video. All right, there it is. There's the finished product. The threads work fine. The lid screws on tight. It's definitely a box. It will hold up to 8 standard M&Ms. I use the Christmas variety, but I'm pretty sure regular M&Ms will fit just fine. And then my wife has absconded with it, and it is now being used as an actual pillbox in the bottom of her purse. So I need to make another one.